lecture, we will briefly introduce some of the reasons behind the transition in design from a human-centered practice to a multi-species one. When we think about communities of people, we often associate them with cities. Cities are generally perceived as spaces created by and for people, artificial environments where different voices converge. There is a prevalent misconception that cities are primarily inhabited by humans, while settings like forests or other naturalistic environments are governed by what is commonly referred to as nature. However, these voices include not only those of humans, but also comprehend non-human agents, biological life forms such as plants, animals, bacteria, and technologies like artificial intelligence that contribute to daily life in cities. Over the decades, this misleading and anthropocentric idea that cities are only inhabited by people has transformed urban contexts into extremely harmful places for the health of both residents and other organisms living in these areas. As highlighted in the 11th goal of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, titled Sustainable Cities and Communities, global population growth, climate change, and air pollution are among the primary factors that contribute to human significant negative impact on biodiversity and quality of life. In recent decades, green and sustainability design practices, including different life forms, have emerged to address global climate change and biodiversity loss. From this perspective, approaches and biodiversity strategies like nature-based solutions are flourishing in urban context. The solutions are inspired and supported by other life forms to deliver environmental, social, and economic benefits and contribute to building resilience. Nevertheless, these emerging design practices, while impactful for the biodiversity of urban ecosystems, still appear to be influenced by an anthropocentric perspective. Their primary focus seems to be on enhancing the physical and mental well-being of citizens rather than demonstrating a specific commitment to caring for other life forms. In this framework, it seems crucial to explore how to embrace non-human agents into the discourse, recognizing them as life forms that actively contribute to society by shaping and transforming the surrounding environment. As mentioned before, the non-human realm not only includes advanced technology and artificial intelligence to monitor and manage urban natural systems and improve people's quality of life, but it also includes biological life forms like plants, animals, fungi, bacteria, and even viruses that silently and continuously shape the environment we inhabit. Academics are introducing the idea of thinking of the world as a space less defined by a dichotomous view between what is human, artificial, and what is non-human, natural, but rather as a collective of interconnected things. This interconnection is conceived as an assemblage, a fluid and open-ended relationship between vibrant materials, human and non-human, of all sorts. Drawing from the concept of actor network theory formulated by the sociologist and anthropologist Bruno Latour, we can assert that the relationship between the design subject and the surroundings is constant, as space is always designed and built by other species. Nevertheless, this transition necessitates a shift in our conventional mode of relating to other entities, speculating that designing, even if in different ways, might be intended as a multi-species affair. To what extent does our anthropocentric perspective hinder us from recognizing a design capacity not only for humans, but also for all other life forms? How might we embrace other worldviews and knowledges coming from other places into our own practice? Within the broad spectrum of non-human agents, plants are seen as less complex agents compared to animals. They are usually considered mindless and voiceless, and unable to interact and start relationships of any kind with human beings, despite being a significant feature of the urban environment. Emerging studies in the field of plant neurobiology are now breaking down knowledge barriers, unveiling remarkable data that acknowledge plant actions and behaviors guided by a distinct form of intelligence, a notion that was previously relegated to the realm of speculation. Years prior to the formal recognition of a form of plant intelligence, other fields, such as anthropology and philosophy, began acknowledging plants' inherent worth. Plants, in fact, are commonly regarded for their instrumental value, as they are mainly considered resources primarily serving human needs. Yet how can we start to embrace other life forms into the design discourse when the concept of participation among multi-species communities remains ambiguous and poorly researched? How can we shape design to be as inclusive as possible, moving beyond human-centered design? There are a few tips we might consider. By moving back to plants and giving them the ability to participate in the design process, we can begin to explore themes that can help us in shifting our perspective towards a multi-species paradigm. Time, space, and aesthetics. First, time and temporality are a human concept that heavily influence several parts of a design process. Embracing plants into design involves considering the distinct time that plants spend for moving, foraging, growing, and evolving. Plants act on a different temporal scale, characterized by significantly longer lifespans and slower growth and reproduction cycles. When dealing with multi-species community, we need to redefine the temporal dimension of design. Rather than being considered a process aiming at an end, design should be seen as an ongoing, continuous progression over time. In fact, it is a never-ending process not solely decided by humans, but constantly influenced by other life forms. Secondly, when designing spaces for coexistence, it is crucial to comprehend the challenges faced by plants living in public spaces. Plants are constantly threatened by humans' actions and architectures, suffering from stressors both above and below ground, such as pollution, high temperatures, and restricted growth space for both the roots and the canopy. In this sense, on the one hand, administrative bodies such as municipalities should update their approach by revising norms, policies, and regulations, and broadening their consideration of non-human life forms. On the other, there is the need to reframe the concept of aesthetics. Allowing space for plants and embracing their design strategies involves acknowledging features that may not be readily appreciated by humans, such as autumn leaves on the ground, wide root systems that break sidewalks, and tall weeds that support pollinators. This is a particularly tricky issue as it addresses the priority of safety in cities. Recognizing plants as capable of being primary contributors in design is a challenge to reshape a domain design that is overly centered on humans. In this regard, this perspective can serve to enlighten the entanglement of human and non-human life, keeping in mind all the consequences that the act of design has for the surroundings and its actors. Therefore, we need to be aware of our role both as individuals and designers, reassessing our interactions with others. As the anthropologist Tim Ingold suggests, we inhabit our environment, we are part of it, and we must act from an ethical standpoint, taking into account care and coexistence with other life forms.